Hey everybody, it looks like this time the sharing of the picture worked well. Yes, it worked well. So welcome everybody who has persisted and joined in to this free workshop on stop anxiety and panic attacks. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in and apologies for the technical hiccups. My name is Sonja Kirschner. I'm an ex-sufferer of panic attacks, depression and anxiety. And I welcome you all to this workshop for everybody who has agreed in joining. The purpose of this session is twofold really. Obviously we're going through tough times at the moment with everything that is going on, and obviously it means that it's especially hard on those of us who are already suffering with anxiety, panic attacks and depression. And I really want to give something back. I've been free of this kind of emotional suffering for 15 years now, which is fantastic. I've found a way out, but it has taken me years to find a way out and to free myself from all the emotional suffering. And since then, I've been on a journey. But long story short is that I'm today and have been for the last good number of years been working with people similar to you guys, to people who suffer in the same way like I used to, and I work with them to free themselves emotionally. So I've become a life coach. Last year I was nominated for the top three finalist of the International Coaching Awards. So I'm really proud of my journey, and I'm really motivated to seeing people thrive and free themselves emotionally. And I really want to give back because I can see that the work I have done in relation to me freeing myself is paying off also with working with other people. So it's taken me a long time to figure out what it is that was causing my anxiety, panic attacks and depression. And now I'm at a place where I want to share what is proven, what I know that worked for me, but what I also know that has worked many other people, the people I've worked with. So it essentially comes down to three main things, and it's exactly the same things I'm also talking about in my 3-step blueprint to stop anxiety, panic attacks and depression. So we'll be talking about the three main things which have helped me to achieve emotional freedom, so to speak, and which have also helped many other people. So that's what I will be talking about. But also I want to do this as a live Q&A session, because obviously I'm a member of various groups on anxiety, panic attacks and depression here on Facebook, and there is so much going on. So many people suffer these days especially, and come to these groups asking for help, asking questions every day in terms of, what can I do to free myself? What can you give me some practical tools and tips, and what does this feeling or that feeling mean? And what I observe a little bit on these groups is that I can only comment on so many questions, but I really I'm lacking the practical input. So I'm lacking, somebody jumping on live Q&As and just taking the time, a sufferer who has freed himself or herself, and just taking the time to talk to you guys, to give you questions, to give you answers to your questions, the things that kind of help me, and I can see from my perspective help many other people, and hopefully they can do the same for you. So the second part of this will be really to help you in that way. If you have any questions, just pop them in the comment box, and I will coach you through any difficulties. I will give you advice. I will do my best to share what I know is working for many other people, and what ultimately helped me to vault myself up out of anxiety, depression and panic attacks. So I really want this to be an engaging conversation, and hopefully going forward we can take this forward and conduct this in form of weekly meetings. I mean, the plan is to also create a Facebook group where everybody, rather than joining in and asking questions and getting the sympathetic responses from other sufferers, somebody taking the lead and holding the space for everybody to come in and join and benefit from these kind of sessions together. So I hope that all sounds good to you. I will now introduce you to the three main things that helped me, that really helped me to free myself completely from emotional suffering. I can give you my entire story, how long I suffered and in what way, but much rather that you go and hear about my story by the link I've provided in the description. I will tell you all about my story, how I suffered and how long it went for, and how I managed to find my way out. But suffice to say that I suffered for a good number of years in my late teens and early 20s, for a good number of years, and I didn't know what was going on, and I wanted to free myself, emotionally, and I wanted to find ways, tools, strategies that vaulted me out. So what I've learned by reading various books, so many books on performance, mindset, philosophy, behavior, there are really three main things which help me to free myself, so to speak, of all the emotional suffering. And these three things are the exact same things which help other people I work with also. So they've worked for me, they've worked for many other people, and I know they will work for you too. But what I really want to highlight is, if you have physical symptoms of suffering, such as, a pain around your chest, or if you have an increase, if you feel that you are breathing too fast or something is wrong with you, step number one is to go and make sure that you get yourself physically checked out and get the okay by the doctors to say that everything is fine with you. I mean, that's the step number one. That was certainly my step number one. I didn't know what was going on. I had all these symptoms like chest pains all the time, or headaches, or dizziness, and sweating too much, and I was worried that there was something physically wrong with me. But before I could dismiss it, obviously you need to know whether that's really the case. So step number one for you is, if you haven't done it already, go and get a medical examination and confirmation that physically is everything fine with you. As far as I'm concerned, I was certainly hoping for a diagnosis to say, look, something is wrong with you, because my thinking at the time was, once they treat this cause, then all the effect which I experience as panic attacks and anxiety would disappear. But that hasn't proven to be the case. I was declared to be healthy, and so to speak, I had to, even though I saw psychiatrists and psychologists, it was ultimately up to me to pull myself out of the state. So step number one for you is, if you haven't already done so, make sure that you get the medical check to say that you are fine. For everybody who is new and joining us, thanks for joining in. We've just started talking about how I intend to run these sessions, and how I can hopefully help yourself. I'm saying that I'm also an ex-sufferer of panic attacks, depression and anxiety, and how I've shifted myself out. That you can hear all about my story in the link I've provided in the description. So the three main things, and trust me, there were so many things I've tried to get myself out from this lonely, overwhelming, helpless place. There were so many things, but the three main things which really made ultimately a difference for me and the many other people I work with today are, step number one, or thing number one, is the physiology, the way we use our body. If I were to ask you, how does a depressed person look like? What do they do with their body? How do they use their body? I'm sure you could tell me, because you have probably experienced this yourself, right? So you would tell me things like, and feel free to pop it in the comment box below, but you would probably tell me things like head down, shoulders down, they feel gravitated towards the earth, they have shallow breathing, their voice is really soft and faint, their eyes are almost closed over. So it's almost like a little bit of life is missing, right? Gravitation towards the earth, that's the gravity. So we all know that because we've been there, or most of us joining this this workshop have been in that place, right? So the key number one is, when we feel in this place of anxiousness, depression, and experiencing a panic attack, and although we may not feel like doing it, but it's absolutely about changing our physiology radically. In the moment, and Michelle says yes, in the moment when you feel down, when you don't feel like doing much, when you don't feel like getting out of bed, when you don't feel like raising your voice, when you don't feel like smiling, when you don't feel like raising your arms, and when you don't feel like going for a walk or running, that's exactly the moment when you have to do it. So a radical change of how you feel is crucial to start shifting out of anxiety, depression, and panic attack in that very moment. That is step number 1. And applying any of these 3 steps I'm going to give you has the incredible potential to shift you out of any dark and lonely place. But if you apply them all 3 together, you become quite literally unstoppable. And the more you do it, the better you become. So what is step number 2? Step number 2 is about changing what you focus on and changing what you believe. You see, when let's say we're experiencing a panic attack, it usually starts with a sensation of something is not quite right? It usually starts with a physical symptom, like our heart starts beating faster, or we start breathing faster, or we've got a headache. So it starts with a physical symptom. And what happens then? We almost instantaneously, especially the ones amongst us who have experienced panic attacks, and I certainly have on a daily basis, day and night, in fact, multiple times. So the moment we have got this onset of that feeling, what do we do? Pop it in the comment box. What do? We start fearing, catastrophizing what is about to come, right? We know that we have been in this place before. We start feeling that it's coming, and we start being afraid of, oh my God, what is going to happen? We start painting this picture on the wall which hasn't happened yet, but we are essentially creating it, recreating it. So what we focus on is very powerful, because it tends to happen. What we focus on, what we believe. So again, because it's so, and I get it, I've been there, as I say, because it's so difficult to focus on anything else, right? You almost think it's not possible to focus in that very moment on anything else. But I can tell you one thing, the moment you start moving, the moment you start changing your physiology, apply a radical change even though you don't feel like it, the easier it will become to start shifting your focus. So let me give you an example. Okay? And why this is so important. Let's take the feeling of nervousness. Nervousness is similar, milder, but similar to anxiety. So what happens when we are nervous? What are the physical symptoms? Our palms become sweaty, we start breathing fast, our heart rate increases, we've got a funny sensation around the stomach area, right? But let me tell you one thing. What happens when we are excited? What happens to you when you are excited? Your heart rate increases, your breath speed increases, you've got a funny tingly sensation around the stomach, your breath speed increases, right? You start sweating when you're really excited, right? So what I'm saying is, between nervousness and excitement, the physical symptoms aren't too different. It all depends on the message you are telling yourself, so to speak. So the onset of excitement and the onset of nervousness, physical symptoms are very similar. It's not until we start telling ourselves, oh my God, I'm nervous, oh my God, I'm anxious, that these physical symptoms develop into, having an upset stomach, like Michelle is saying. But initially you've got a feeling around your stomach. So what I'm saying is, you can tell your body, so to speak, what is going on by what you choose to focus on. I don't know whether you have been at the London Olympics, but or watched some of the London Olympics, the last ones. A reporter went around the athletes, and there he interviewed them, and he was telling them essentially from his perspective, oh my God, you must be really nervous in front of this big crowd here in London, in front of your home crowd. And every single athlete responded, no, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. No, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Every single one of them. And it came to the big surprise to the reporter, because from his perspective, he would have been nervous, which ultimately would have had an impact on how he performs. But these athletes, they were telling themselves that they were excited. They were experiencing the same physical symptoms, but they were telling themselves they were excited. And by doing so, they have taken back their power. So what you focus on, what you believe, has a tremendous impact on how you feel. Tremendous impact on how you feel. Also, when we feel depressed, stressed, anxious, we usually tend to focus on what's not working out for us. We usually tend to focus on the things that have gone wrong in the past. We usually tend to focus on what's missing in our life. We usually tend to focus on what hurts. We usually tend to focus on the broken relationship. But you know, what's wrong is always available for everybody. But so is what's right. It's always available. And it's up to us to take this mental power and focus in the direction which is helping us, which is serving us. You see? So when somebody tells you, for instance, oh my God, you don't look great today, it doesn't mean that you are that you look horrible and that you are not worthy of their attention, or that you are disgusting or whatever. It just means that they think that I don't look so good. So when you shift your focus and look at it from a more empowering perspective, you would then probably go back and say, why? What's the matter? And they may just reply, I don't know, is something different with your hair. Something which you probably wouldn't have thought in the first place. But when we feel depressed, low, anxious, we don't even have the courage to go and ask. We just go away and internalize many of these feelings, and build on the negativity and build on the feeling of state, the low state, and build on the negative emotions we are feeling inside, rather than really focusing on it from a different perspective. And also what you believe about yourself, about other people around you, and about the world is also incredibly impactful, has an incredible impact on your emotional and physical state. For instance, you may believe that everything which is not working out is you are being, so to speak, punished by whatever or whoever. If you believe in a greater force, that probably you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm being punished for everything that I didn't do in the past by coming across this challenge, and this is such a big burden. But you can also believe, oh my God, it's the greatest challenge in my life. I've got so much to learn and so much to give. And by me learning and experiencing this and getting through it, I will become a much stronger person as a result, a much stronger and resourceful person who will then be able to go on and do great things. So I get it. I get it. It's easier to talk about it when you are out, or when you are not experiencing panic, depression, and anxiety in this very moment. But this is the only way to change. And I understand that our beliefs, they are difficult to change, because we have been carrying around our beliefs, let's face it, all our lives. We've built our beliefs when we were children, and essentially they were passed on to us by our parents or caretakers, and we've kept building on them with every experience we went through, and we survived, because that's essentially our brain's job, to make us survive. It's not its job to make us happy. That's our job. As long as we survive, it's good enough for our brain, and we just keep repeating the same behavior over and over again because it's easy, and our brain wants to protect us and keep us safe. So it serves always the same solution, even though it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best approach. So I understand that changing our beliefs is not easy, but we can absolutely do it. You see, our brain is a massively powerful computer program, which we have programmed by observing what is going on. And it was in our initial years of life programmed by other people. And when we reach adulthood, we are at a stage where we feel that this is who we are. We always identify with our beliefs, and we don't think, and most people don't care to stop and think what are our beliefs, and they are actually not me. If they are not serving me, I can absolutely change them. Well, most people don't care to think in this way. They just take it as reality, and they take it as a given. Well, this is who I am, and I can't change anything, and go on and recreate essentially the same kind of emotions, the same reality they have been, without taking the time out of the day, taking what you are doing right now, educating yourself, so that you are able and feel empowered to change something. But you can absolutely change your beliefs. If you recognize a belief about yourself, about the world, about the people around you is not working for you, you can absolutely change it. So for instance, if you believe about yourself that you are not worthy of being free of anxiety, you are not worthy of emotional freedom, ask yourself the question where that comes from, all right? Because I can tell you one thing, you are absolutely worthy of all the abundance, freedom, and prosperity you can imagine, and much more. If you think that you are not deserving of an emotionally abundant life, from the place which you create a beautiful life, you can create a beautiful life. If you think you are not worthy and you are not deserving, then you will be kept stuck. Michelle is saying we become our thoughts. It's absolutely right, because what you think about, Michelle, and everybody else in the group, what you think about is you create. And whether it's the things you want or the things you don't want, either way, if you think about it, you attract it into your life, right? So we can change our beliefs. And if you recognize a thought or your beliefs are not serving you, and you can absolutely change them. And how do you recognize they're not serving you? First of all, if you think about it, it makes you feel off. It makes you feel bad. Now, bad is a big term for many negative emotions, starting with overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry, fear, all the way down to depression, jealousy, insecurity. So I'm using the word bad for many, many different emotions. But if you have a belief about yourself, the world, or other people, which is not serving you, it just feels bad. It just feels off within you, and when you feel it when it feels like this. So if you recognize you have these beliefs about yourself and others, it's about time to change them. It's about time to change them. And how do you change beliefs? Well, I could give you a whole story on this, a whole lecture, but essentially, as I said, it's a computer program. It's about how do we reprogram our mind. It's about giving less and less attention to the thoughts, to the beliefs that are not serving you, and giving more and more attention to the things, the beliefs and the thoughts that are serving you and that are empowering you, that are putting you into a place where you feel ready for change, where you want to create beautiful things, where you feel that actually you are moving forward and ahead, when it feels like a breath of fresh air, when you feel that something is changing. So if I were to give you the analogy of a jungle, imagine yourself in a jungle. The grass is overgrown everywhere, but there is one path which is really nice and clear, and you can walk down that path no problem. Now if you think of that is your old disempowering belief. You have walked down that path many times, right? You have walked down that path many times. It's clear. You don't need to cut any grass down. It's clear and it's easy. It's easy to walk down that path because you have thought about it so many times and it's familiar. It feels safe. You know where you are going. You know you're not going to upset anybody. You know what to expect, even though at the end of the path you will still feel bad and low and depressed and anxious, but at least having been down that path, it feels safe, and our brain loves safety and it hates anything that is new. So essentially it takes us more willpower to create a new path consciously. It takes us more willpower, and that's how we reprogram a brain. So to create a new path in that jungle of our mind is we have to take a big sword and start cutting down the grass. Stop going down the route of the clear path, allow the grass to grow until it thickens up and covers the old path, and start walking on the new empowering path of our thoughts. And the first few times will be tough, it will be difficult. We will cut ourselves on the thick grass, i.e. we will be scared, we will be pushing out of our comfort zone, we will not know what other people will say to us, how they will react, we will not know whether we will survive in that regard, right? And let's face it, when we are already emotionally low and fragile in this way, it's more difficult. But the more we walk down that path, the more easy it will become, and the more sustainable the creation of our positive beliefs is. So we had the step number 1, change your physiology, change how you use your body. Step number 2 is be mindful of how you use your thoughts, what you focus on, and what you believe, right? What you focus on and what you believe. And step number 3, what you have to change is the language you use, the words you use, the phrases you use on a daily basis. Again, to talk about yourself, when you talk about to yourself, or when you talk about yourself to others. What language do you use? And more importantly, what meaning you assign to the things you are saying to yourself and others, and what meaning you assign to the things other people are telling you, right? So there's so many people out there who are depressed, anxious, and worried, and I keep hearing them saying things like, "I'm not worthy of feeling better. I'm just a nobody. I don't deserve anything better. The anxiety. I'm an anxious person. I know that the panic attacks will come, and I feel bad. I just don't feel good." So they are describing what feels like, they're just observing, stating facts, and they are identifying with being the victim of the situation, So from their perspective, they're not doing anything wrong. But what you have to recognize is that when the more you emphasize these things, the more you talk about these things, the more you become them, yeah? And the more you become them, then the more you feel that way, and you really feel like you're trapped within a situation where there is no way out. And also the meaning you assign to certain things. If somebody says to you, again as an example, if they say to you, well, you didn't do so great today, you may assign the meaning straight away. You may assign the meaning of, oh my God, I'm a loser. Or, oh my God, I'm no good to anything. I'm not good to anybody. I'm a complete failure. But that's not true. That person just said to you, you didn't do so great today. So, they may mean something completely different. Most likely they do. But as we already spoke about, it's all about you changing the language, changing the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about yourself to yourself, and the names you call yourself. Some people are really, really hard on themselves. Depression, victims of anxiety, panic attacks. Some people call themselves horrible things and then expect to get better. How about for a change you start treating yourself kindly and nicely, like you would to your best friend? How would you treat yourself, and what are the sort of things you would say to somebody who is a really close and dear friend of yours and who would be clearly suffering right in front of you? How would you treat them? What would you say to them? What would you say to them? What would you ask them to do? So these are the sort of things, if I were to ask you, pop it in the comment box, what would you tell them? Probably, most likely, you would tell them all the, right things. You would tell them to do the right things, speak to themselves nicely. We are all, good, well-intentional people. And for some reason, we forget to apply what we do for other people on ourselves. So be good on yourself. Speak to yourself nicely. Use language which is endearing and compassionate towards yourself. And also don't focus too much on the negativity or, the low states. How do you want to feel? Focus on what you want. And don't assign meanings which are simply not true. Question. If you assign a meaning, to something, like somebody says something to you and you assign a meaning, like where you're catastrophizing, like you didn't do so great and you completely, catastrophize, say I'm complete failure. Stop in that moment and ask yourself the question, is that really true? Is that really true, or is this something I've just constructed in my mind? Ask yourself that question. And if you do, and the more often you kind of challenge yourself in this regard, the easier it will get. And you will build up the confidence to go and ask the people, what is it you meant by your comment? Right? So there you have them, the 3 main steps. So change your physiology, change the focus, change your focus and the meaning, and change your focus and your beliefs, change your language and the meaning you assign to things. If you are in the midst of anxiety, if you're feeling depressed, even if you're experiencing the onset of a panic attack, changing any of these 3 patterns, I'm saying patterns because these are the patterns we habitually do every day. Changing any one of these, has the power, the incredible potential to get you out of that low state in seconds, right? If you apply all 3 of them, if you change the way you use your body, if you change the way you talk to yourself and the meaning you assign to things, if you change what you focus on and what you believe, you can truly become unstoppable. You can change everything very quickly. Very quickly. Yeah. Michelle, you are saying that sometimes it's hard, and I absolutely get it. You see, it took me years to figure it out. Years, and click on the link after the call to hear about my story. But there are the 3 things. The more you do them, and the easier they will become. The better you will start feeling, and the better you feel, the more courageous you will be, and the more you start trusting yourself. You see, and when you're at a place where you can trust your own ability to create beautiful experiences in any given moment in the day, any given moment of the day, when you can rely on yourself to create in any moment of the day beautiful experiences, knowing that you are in absolute control over how you feel, and that you can shift your focus, and that you can vault yourself out of any negativity which may overcome you. It's a beautiful, emotionally free experience, and there is nothing better than that. Once you experience that, you will never want to go back. You will never want to go back to this place of emotional suffering. But you can only do that one step at a time. And the more you do it, the easier it will get. And I promise you this. There's those other things you can do, like, cleaning up your diet, develop a great routine around daily routine. Exercise, physical exercise is wonderful, for feeling when you feel that you are physically strong through the exercise that you do every day. It also has a positive knock-on effect, so to speak, on your emotional health. So there's a whole set of things you can do to develop powerful habits around being in the place of empowerment, so that you become an ex-sufferer of anxiety, depression, and panic attacks, and that you embrace the emotional freedom which is available to all of us at any given moment of the day. Why so many people who are depressed are taking antidepressants, right? So many people are taking antidepressants, yet they are still depressed. And I've certainly been in that place. I've been taking antidepressants, I was still depressed. I still didn't feel, great. I was still getting panic attacks. I still had physical symptoms. And I should have been fine according to the doctors, right? But why is that? Because you see, the antidepressants, although they alter your biochemistry, they don't make you fulfilled. they don't change the very things we have just spoken about. They don't change the way you consciously apply your focus. They don't change the way you live your life, in that you take the power, your power available to you, and develop powerful routines in place, that you decide in a moment to change your physiology radically, that you start focusing on believing in beautiful things, that you are more compassionate and more creative and more positive in the way you use your language. You see, I keep banging on about this changing your physiology, but let me give you an example of research which is really powerful. And I'm talking more about this in my 3-step blueprint to stop anxiety and panic attacks, the link to which you can find in the description. But whoever knows of Amy Cuddy, she is a Harvard behavioral therapist, a professor. And she was really big, and still is, but she had a really big TED Talk in 2012 where she asked the audience to apply a power pose only for 2 minutes. Now, power pose, think of Wonder Woman or Superman. So poses of high power, where you stand firmly on your ground with your feet apart, with your hands on your hips, looking up, feeling really confident, sticking out your chest as you were owning the world. So this posture alone has an impact on your biochemistry, i.e. 2 minutes of this posture alone decrease your cortisol by 25%, your cortisol being the major stress hormone in your body. So you haven't taken any antidepressants, any supplements. By you changing your physiology for 2 minutes alone, by feeling like impersonating Wonder Woman or Superman, really putting yourself into this space, and let's face it, we can all do that, right? It has a knock-on effect, a positive impact on our biochemistry. It literally alters what's going on within our system. And when we feel less stressed, we feel better, right? So physiology is a wonderful tool. It's not about, and I get it. It's difficult to change your physiology when you just don't feel like it, or when you are experiencing a panic attack. It's difficult to move yourself out of this place of, having really stiff legs and a fast heartbeat. I know for myself, it was tough. But the worst thing you can do is just stick with it and wait until it's over. Yeah, you have to take charge in the moment when it's happening. Whether you're depressed, anxious, or even going through a panic attack right now, you have to take charge with your mind over your body and your thoughts and what you focus on. And the more you do it, the easier it will get, because you will start trusting yourself. You will feel empowered. And these are the 3 main things which help me 100%. And I've been emotionally free now for 15 years. I do get occasionally if something shifts me out of balance, and I don't apply my daily routine, which I really know is working for me, but for some reason I get too busy or too distracted. It happens to me occasionally. So I know when I don't apply this daily routine of mine, and something shifts me completely, shocks me, or like some external event and experience, and I don't take the time and space to prepare myself and to get focused on the thing which is really most important to me, i.e. how I feel. That's the most important thing. And to prime yourself every day, every morning for any, anything that comes your way, to tackle it with complete and utter trust in yourself and your own capability to deal with things. But it's only in the circumstances when I don't that I occasionally experience a glitch, right? But apart from that, I've seen it work, and I've freed myself like this in my early 20s. I've seen it work for many other people since, because you see, me having gone through this emotional suffering in my early adulthood, and it was really intense, has ignited a deep passion for me for wanting to work with people in this way. And I've been working with people in this way in the last good number of years, and I find this work truly fulfilling, because I resonate with with sufferers of anxiety, panic attacks and depression. I know the place. I know how it feels to be there. And I'm so incredibly passionate to see you guys thrive, to free yourself emotionally, take your power back and embrace the beautiful life which is available for you, but which you have to create, you have to take back. The moment you look away of what you don't want and start looking towards the direction you do want to go, everything changes. And it all starts with these 3 steps. You can absolutely change things. You can absolutely change the way how you feel. You can absolutely free yourself on antidepressants, which I know haven't worked for me. They haven't worked for me. The only things which worked is starting to develop a routine around the 3 habits I've just described: the physiology, the focus, the belief, the language, the meaning. Having a healthy diet. What helped me was also ridding myself of alcohol. There are so many other different things you can do, but don't get overwhelmed with doing too much, because there's so much out there and many people may be telling you different things, right? But if you start with these 3 steps I've described, the 3 steps: changing your physiology, your focus, your beliefs, your language, and the meaning you assign to things, you will start feeling better. And the moment you start feeling better, the moment you start making progress, the moment you learn to trust yourself, you will just want to experience more of it. You will go after it, you will become unstoppable, and you will never go back to this lonely, helpless and desperate place. So I do hope that you guys benefited from this. Feel free to ask me anything you want in the comment box. I did say that I would do a live Q&A, and it's really important to me, as I said, attending these different, being a member of these different groups on Facebook on anxiety, depression and panic attacks. I can see that many people are asking many questions, and many like-minded people and also sufferers are trying to help by answering these questions. But I'm not really seeing anybody taking charge and offering live Q&A sessions and giving advice, So this is what I really, really want to offer here. Just let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. There is also, different tools and techniques you can do that can shift you out. Meditation certainly has proven to be very powerful and helpful for me. So do you guys know much about meditation, and do you practice meditation? It would be great to hear from you. Because it is certainly a tremendously powerful tool if you are able to connect with a higher power. We all believe in something greater than us, and we all call it different things, right? Some of us call it the universe, some of us call it a creator, some of us call it God, some of us call it the nature. But if we are able to connect with this higher power and just be in its presence and surrender, it has certainly helped me to find inner peace and to free myself. If you want to know more, just let me know. Again, I'm happy to introduce you or to teach you or give you any point of reference. But Michelle is asking, did you ever deal with health anxiety? Thinking something is wrong every time you felt something in your body? Yeah, Michelle, when quite early on when I was experiencing panic attacks, I used to get a lot of pain around my heart, my chest area, and I could literally feel my heart beating really fast. So, which made it also, and even thinking about it, speaking of focus, right? I've just put myself into the same state and I started feeling the way I used to then. So it's really interesting. But I remember paying attention to the pain in my chest, thinking that there was something wrong with my heart, and almost immediately linking to it that I'm short of breath and that there's something wrong with my breath. I felt like I couldn't get enough air. So my problem was I was too conscious of every heartbeat, so to speak. I was too conscious of the pain around my heart area, on my chest, and I felt like I'm not getting enough air. So every time, I mean, it got so bad that I was worried about leaving the house, going anywhere, because, you know, my anxiety and panic attacks, I always felt like, what happens if I get one of these panic attacks and pass out somewhere? You know, who is there anybody going to be able to help me? Is there anybody going to be around? Are people going to be around to be able to help me? They don't know. You know, my thoughts immediately started racing. Exactly the thing I was describing. You start catastrophizing. If I pass out and people don't know what's wrong with me, or how can they help me if I can't? If they don't know what's wrong with me. So I had several EKG scans, electrocardiograms, multiple of them, in fact. And I remember not even going on school trips because of it, because I was too anxious and worried to go somewhere, to leave a familiar environment where they didn't know what was wrong, so to speak, and where I felt, you know, not being safe, exactly like I've just described. Our brain fears everything which is new and which feels unfamiliar, because you can't connect safety to it. So I've deliberately and consciously missed out of those trips. So I had every EKG scans, and they all showed, you know, a perfectly healthy heart, and it was really difficult for me to understand it, because how can I feel this way? This was my thinking at the time. How can I feel in this way if everything is fine? So they are saying that my heart is fine, but why do I keep getting this chest pain? Why does my heart feel this way? And why am I short of breath? Nobody could really explain, and, you know, the physiologist, sorry, the psychiatrist also, but also the other medical health professionals, which were allegedly supposed to help me, psychologists and psychiatrists, they couldn't really talk any sense into me. So I had to figure it out myself, right? It was a step-by-step process, but I started noticing that, you know, on the days I had good days, we all do, I started paying close attention to when I didn't feel like that. And then I started to multiply feeling that way consciously. I started to recreate the environment or the space when I felt okay, all right? And I started building on that. So Michelle, you are saying that's my thinking too. All tests came back normal. I'm getting blood work done this week to rule out other things. And as I said, that's the most important thing. Step number 1 is get yourself checked out to make sure that everything is indeed fine, and be grateful, be appreciative if all the tests come back fine. You see, I was hoping when I was in when I was suffering, I was hoping that they would bloody find something so that I can finally get an answer for all this suffering, you know. I even remember thinking, oh my God, it would be a blessing if I was somewhere in a car crash, and, you know, and I went and I lost consciousness, and I wouldn't remember, and I would wake up and I would just remember that all my history, it would feel like all my history is deleted. I remember having this kind of thinking just to find some relief. I was hoping that I would be in some sort of crash where I would become unconscious and wake up with no memory at all of my past life, so that I could leave it finally behind. So as you can see, in hindsight, for me, this kind of thinking was crazy. It was crazy because it meant giving up complete and utter control of who I know today. I absolutely can be, and I know you guys can be too. It all starts with you. It all starts with the way you start using your mind. And it all starts with your focus, right? It all starts with how you choose to use your body. It all starts with the words you choose to use to describe your situation to describe how you feel. I mean, if I had to take a guess of how many times in a day you say the word anxiety or panic attack or depression, I think we are talking at least a dozen of time, right? How about you start calling it something else? Or how about you start focusing on the things you want to be? So rather than saying, oh my God, I'm anxious all the time, or oh my God, I'm depressed, why don't you say something along the lines, I recognize I'm not feeling great. I need to start paying attention to what my body is communicating to me. Because I can tell you one thing, that it's not until you start really paying attention to what your body is trying to tell you that you can heal yourself completely. Because all these emotions, all these signals, all the depression, anxiety, all these emotions, all the panic attacks, they're a sign of our body trying to tell us something. So if nobody's really asking the question, but I'm going to ask you the question. If Michelle, because you've been active in the chat, maybe you can answer that. But if you feel anxious, depressed, or panicky, I mean, tell me, or you don't have to, but think about it. What is going on in your life, right? What is happening? What is it that makes you feel helpless? What situation makes you feel helpless? What situation makes you feel completely disempowered? What is it that is making you completely unfulfilled? And if you have an answer, just maybe, if you're still here, Michelle, maybe just pop a yes if you came to an answer to this question in the comment box, if you don't want to share what it is. Because, and the reason why this is important to me is because I know, again, from my own experience and also working with so many other people, is that we are usually prone to avoid thinking about things which we find are painful, thinking about things which are uncomfortable, thinking about things which we feel we don't have any control over, but we know that they are making us unhappy or unfulfilled. The only thing to change, we have to change by taking control of the things we can change, right? So not allowing other people to dictate how we feel. So these are important questions to ask. And Michelle, you are saying, I feel no one wants to be around me because I gave up drinking socially. I'm labeled as boring now. It's a good one, because I actually gave up drinking many years ago now. I think we're coming close to 10 years. And I never was a big drinker, but I gave up because I recognized that it's good for me and I could feel the benefits. And also it helped me with, to be quite frank, it helped me to, I mentioned meditation, it helped me to be more present and still in my meditations. That was really my primary focus. But I'm not, when I say to people, or when I used to say to people, why did you stop drinking? I never felt like I had to justify it. I never felt that, but that was the main reason for me to be more present in my meditation. So as long as you have the right reason, you will stick to it. And it looks like you do, so stick to it. The people who don't want to be around you because you stop thinking, you're clearly reflecting their own weakness in them. I would bet my arm that they, in a way, admire you for giving up, but don't know how to do it themselves, because it's so much more easier to drink and to bury your pain, your dissatisfaction, your unfulfillment with alcohol than it is to become clear and clean and trying to figure it out consciously with the power of your thoughts, right? The people who don't want to be around you because you stop drinking are probably the right people to be around, to be honest, because you are clearly somebody who is taking conscious effort and inspired action of wanting to be at your best and wanting to take your power back. And if the people who are avoiding you as a result don't respond to it well, then maybe they're not even, worthy your attention. And I get it. It may be difficult to get from where you are now, but if you remember that life is always happening for us and not to us, you will understand what I mean when it becomes clear to you. But as long as it feels good to you, and it certainly is good for you as far as from a health perspective is concerned, it's certainly good for you, for your body, because essentially when you drink, what you do is you just put acid into your system. Alcohol turns into acid, which can make us too acidic, and so there are so many reasons not to drink. But I don't have anything against drinking personally, but to help you with your question is, you are not boring, all right? You're not boring. The people who think that they can only get fun and enjoyment by drinking alcohol are not being true and honest and loyal to themselves, because you can do the same without alcohol, all right? You don't need to, and you can trust me. At the beginning, people ask me, so why don't you drink and have a drink? There was this teasing around alcohol. That goes away with time. Now, for me, as far as I'm concerned, alcohol is no longer an option. It's almost like it didn't exist. People don't even ask me if I want a glass of something, because they know. So it it has taken the people who are worthy to stick around and who want your friendship. They will soon adjust. You don't need to worry about that. And the people who can't adjust, who can't get over the fact that you made the conscious decision to take charge of your life in the way you see fit and which works for you, there's no reason for you to make them stick around, if that makes sense. So Michelle is saying, I changed my way of thinking a couple of weeks ago and I actually felt normal for a couple of days. My sister asked me if I wanted to ask me what I'm taking and that I need to keep taking it. I wasn't taking anything. Changing my thought pattern changed my mood. I suspect you taking antidepressants maybe. Is that what you mean? But I slip back into that blah feeling. So again, you have power over everything which is going on. You know what you were doing at the time when everything was working fine. You just have to keep it up. You have to keep it up. You have to keep reminding yourself of the things which are working out for you, and apply them consistently. This stuff I've mentioned to you on the 3 steps. This is proven to work. It's research backed, and it is proven to work with many people, including myself. And I can see it every day working with people just like you, just like I used to be. It works. You just have to stick to it. And remember that our brain tries to avoid anything that is new or unfamiliar, and likes to stick to routine, likes to stick to a safe place, even though we may not be happy in that place. But our brain associates with that place safety, right? So anything new or unfamiliar, it's going to be freaked out about, and it will take a while for you to make it safe and familiar. But the only way you can do is you have to keep going there, and you need to keep applying the same action. And as a result, you will make yourself, you will feel that you are making progress, and you are moving into the right direction. You're saying my mood changed because I changed my way of thinking. I see. So Michelle is saying that her sister thought that she was taking something because her mood has changed as a result of her thinking. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? I mean, it's wonderful to see. And you've, Michelle, experienced yourself that you don't need to take anything to change how you feel. It all starts with you. It all starts within. I hope you guys, you found this helpful, you found this useful. We are coming up to the end of the hour. Let me know in the comments if you found this conversation useful. I would like to do more of these if you think it benefited you. Because I feel, as I said, there's more an active place for allowing you to ask questions and get an answer from somebody who has been there and who has found a way out, but also get an answer, you know, also from like-minded people. But what the stuff I've told you about, you know, it works. I know it works, and I know it can work for you. So what I'm inviting you to do with the information I've given you, to model what works. You don't need to go for years of pain and search to find a solution. You can just model what worked for me and what works for so many other people, and what is proven and backed up by research. Right? So I hope you have benefited from this session. Drop me a note if you have. I would invite you to like my Facebook page, because if you do, and I do run more of these, I'm planning to create a Facebook group on this, so that we can frequently come together and also do something we haven't done today is, you know, practice tools like EFT, emotional freedom technique, together. I ran in earlier on in the year during the pandemic several months of everyday emotional freedom technique workshops where we got together with people online and conducted these daily sessions. Emotional freedom technique is all about taking charge of how I feel and finding the relief to emotional pain, but also physical pain really fast. So a really powerful tool. So like my page so that I can keep you posted on the development of the Facebook group. And if you enjoyed the session, drop me a note. Leave me a review, that would be fantastic. But I would obviously love to hear more from you. So keep in touch. And check out my story and my 3-step blueprint, the link to which you will find in the description. Thank you, everybody. Keep applying those 3 steps. I believe in you. You can absolutely change things. And I'm really excited for you, because you are the place which you will appreciate once you are out of it, because this place is teaching you so much. Remember, life is always happening for you, not to you. There's a reason for all this, which you may not understand right now. But as a result, when you get to the other place, when you get to the place of emotional freedom, you will feel empowered to do so many wonderful things. And that's why I'm really, really excited for you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and bye for now.